Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Tony Succardi. This is BEI Live, our monthly BEI Live. And today I'm so happy we have two absolutely wonderful guests, Eric Patel and Anne Bothello, both co-founders of the Exponential Individual. And that's the topic we're going to dive into today. Before we get started, again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. And we're asking you, the participants, to participate. So if you have, during this conversation, any comments, any questions, anything you would like us to go into more details with, let us know. Go to the chat and ask your question, give your comments. Uli, our program coordinator, is right there. She's watching the chat. If there's something really special going on there, she's going to let us know, and we're going to stop whatever we're doing, and we're going to address your questions and your comments. The conversation is going to be for 30 minutes. After that, we're going to have some announcements from Uli, and then we're going to go into the Q&A. So great again to have you all with us. And let me introduce our guests again, like Eric Patel and Bothello, co-founders of the Exponential Individual. The book Exponential Individual just came out fresh off the press yesterday and is available on Amazon. I got a copy myself and I can't believe it. It's full of nuggets. It's a really cool book to read, really special. So let's get started. So Eric and whoever wants to start, what is your why? What are you doing, the wonderful things you're doing today?
I know Eric's going to say ladies first, so I'm just going to unmute myself. So my purpose, my why, everything I do is around upgrading society's concept of wealth and well-being. And I find it really important for humans to know the importance in leadership for healing, deep healing. And to be able to do that can transform our leadership into more authentic leadership. So a lot of my messaging is around the importance of healing and leadership when it comes to well-being. And everything to do with upgrading society's concept of wealth has to do with how we can use exponential technologies to create more equity in the world.
Wonderful. And Eric, how about you?
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Thanks for having us. Yeah, it's really simple. When I was putting together my mission statement many years ago, and that's simply to help others thrive. And I do that primarily through three ways: unwavering loyalty, selfless service, and lifelong friendship. And I think those that know me, hopefully I'll get at least one or two or three of those, but it's been great. And, this initiative that we've started, which I'm really looking forward to getting into talking about, really goes at the core of humanity. Even though it's exponential individuals, that's really just where we're starting, right? We have this expression, put your oxygen mask on first. And it starts from there. And I think once you kind of get your story straight, you can help others and better humanity.
Yeah, I saw some of that when I was reading the book, and I thought that was so cool. Like, the way you define like love, compassion, oxygen mask on first, so you can give it to others, and lots of good things. And I want to go into the details with some of the things that you talk about in the book. But first, I want to say something. What I find really special about it, this book is really about engaging with life. You're finding your full potential, being the best version of yourself in life. It's not about learning some cool stuff about whether it's emotional intelligence or whatever, to simply create a better version of yourself, but also using that better version of yourself for something good in life. Did I get that right? Yeah. And so I want to go into a little deeper into this. So what is an exponential individual? What does that mean? And yeah.
We're looking at who wants to go first, right? With sign language right here. So when you get to that chapter, we've kind of unpacked it in different ways, and there are several definitions. And we really, the core essence of what we're trying to get across is being an exponential individual is in each and every one of us, meaning we have this essence within ourselves, almost like a little flame that just needs to be lit so that we can fully light up the world with our true talents, our true gifts. And the only way we can do this is to go through the process of being human, but connecting to that which is greater than us. So it's playing the role of being extremely authentic and grounded, but at the same time, getting the inspiration from this infinite intelligence that lies around us. And people use different words for this. You call it super consciousness, collective consciousness, you call it divine, you call it infinite intelligence. It's this ability to move between these two essences that live within us, which is spirit, as well as being human. Being human can feel very heavy. And being an exponential individual is acknowledging that we are here in human form. We have to go through the heaviness to actually tap into that potential and unleash that optimal version of ourselves to live our truest lives and actually inspire people around us.
Again, I feel this is really wonderful because you're talking about connecting with something higher, whatever we call that. But it's not about retiring from the world, like, leaving the world behind and going on your own little way, like being a perfect being. No, it's about connecting with that and giving back and participating in humanity, in society, which is what I really like about this program. Eric, what's your version of it? What would
Yeah.
you like to add to what Anne was saying?
Yeah, I would agree, right? I mean, I know when we were originally thinking about this, we were very left brain, 2x, 5x, 10x. And there's a lot to say about high productivity and high performance and all the things that, on your LinkedIn and your resume and social media that look and sound great, right? And there's definitely part of that. This is also about right brain, as Ann was talking about, right? Like the conscious, like who and what are we connecting to? Why are we here? Right? What's the purpose of all this, right? And it's definitely more than I think what's on the external. And living a fulfilled life is also important too. Right? There's a lot of talk about being happy and experiencing joy and bliss. And look, there are a lot of people that on the exterior seem like they have it all. And then on the interior, it's a different story. And sometimes you really just don't know. And so what we're trying to do is, it's a little bit of a spoiler alert, right? Is like we all have this potential within us, right? We're all EXIs at the end of the day. And I think if you can kind of harness both this left brain, right brain, and your heart, then I think you're going to be in really good shape.
And when you talk about the right brain, what does it bring to the picture?
Yeah, so I think, when I think about sort of left brain, and that's all the objective things, the tangibles, the visibles, the stuff that we all kind of get from an exponentiality standpoint. And the right brain side is all the other things that, Ann and I were just mentioning in terms of the spiritual connection and the consciousness and being aware and realizing that we are a soul in a human form. And other things as well, the subconscious, not only just regular consciousness. And there's really just a lot going on there. The mind is just an amazing thing. And then really all of it is nothing without kind of the connection to the heart as well. And, living a fulfilled life and being sort of the person that maybe you were sent here to be.
How do you know that you are too much on one side, like maybe too focused on the left brain and not using the other part of your brain? How do you know you're not fully functioning with all your capabilities?
There's an amazing book called The Body Keeps Score, and I'm sure you've heard of that book.
Yes.
And everything that we do, when it seems too methodological, when it seems like we're living in this pragmatic bubble constantly, there's lack of flow and there's a lack of expansiveness when there's a lot of rigidity. And you can almost feel it. You can feel it in your body. It's a sense of contraction when you feel like you're almost running through life like a machine. That's when you start to realize, am I sitting in this left brain aspect of me, which is all about getting things done, making things work. And we need that, right? It's using our will to actually action things in the world. However, when we don't allow ourselves that space for expansiveness, are we truly being creative in the projects, in the entrepreneurs, the family life that we're trying to create? Are we
Mhm.
being creative with the solutions to solve the problems that are coming up? Or are we repeating cycles like a machine? And the way you feel it, in most cases, is right here in your body. And we forget that this is a
Mhm.
great litmus test. Like, how does my body feel today? Do I feel contracted? Do I feel a strain in my back that hasn't gone for 2 weeks and I've completely ignored it? Do I feel like I can breathe when I wake up in the morning? Or do I feel like I'm stuck in this constant rat race? How am I feeling goes into your heart. How's my body feeling goes into the physicalities of the way emotions get stored. And this then can help us figure out, are we living a life more in flow and open to creative solutions? Are we living a life more in a rigid manner, sitting in our left brain, feeling like a machine all the time?
Mm. Very interesting. It resonates with me. I don't know if you read the book from Ian McGilchrist, the Master and the Emissary, but it talks about the right, left, and how one is the real master, but has been usurped by the emissary. And one is taking control. And that's how we get into that space. Like, we are so focused on getting everything right, we forget about what's important. So, yeah, we're doing a lot of the things we need to do. We are high achievers, but achieving what? Is that connected to our values, to our purpose? So I think that's the direction we're talking about. We need to go back there and figure out, is this really our purpose? Are we in line with our values? And like you said, checking with our body, with what's going on inside. Am I living the life I want to live? Or am I like not living the life I want to live? There's something very interesting in your book. It says neuroscience tells us that 95% of who we are by age 35 is a memorized set of behaviors. When I read that, I thought, yeah. And if we don't pay attention, we stay in that set of behaviors, and it's very hard to change. So, what's the secret sauce? And I think it has to do with connecting with the heart and some other and awareness. But tell me, like, what's the secret sauce to get out of the hamster wheel and live like a fulfilling life?
I mean, that's such a hot button, Tony. I sometimes refer to this, and I've been at this myself. I think many of us have.
Mm-hmm.
Zombie mode, cruise control mode, autopilot, right? We're just going through life. Do we really want to do that? And I think you touched upon values and principles earlier, and I think we all have them. And I think, part of what we're trying to do with this work is to get people to really define, resonate, and live by them, like every single day. And going back to the earlier point about what are we here for? What are we doing? What's really important to you in life? And for me, it's people and relationships, right? The who and the what. And everything else is like secondary. And that's a hard decision, I think, for a lot of people to make, especially if you are spending a lot of time in your left brain and you are thinking about things that we all think about: success, wealth, pleasure and enjoyment and fun, all important things. And then to maybe figure out what's the most important to you in life, and are you living that? That's where I think the challenge lies.
I see that people and communities even come up in your book, like as a mean to be the best version of yourself. Can you go a little bit deeper into that? Like, how does one really connect with other people? Well, how do you know that the people you are seeing, you are talking with, and the communities you're going to are good for you and helping you being the best version of yourself? Because I believe sometimes some of our surrounding of our environment, and that includes people and communities and so on, can have the opposite effect. like competition at work, like I want to be the best at work. It's not the best version of myself. It's really like unidirectional, like, a focus direction. And that's when I get into the rat race and so on. So what kind of relationships are we talking about? What kind of communities are we talking about?
I think to start there, Tony, it's, you only meet people where you're at. And so the deeper question is, how self-aware are you?
Mm,
So we can go about our lives blaming, people for the situations created, and people have tough lives. We've all been through situations that have shaken us to our core. You just mentioned a statistic that 95% of who we are by the age of 35 is defined behaviors and patterns. Typically what ends up happening, and you've seen this through the Joseph Campbell model of, the hero's journey, right?
mhm,
Some incident takes place in your life, either it's a death of a loved one, you have a health incident, you lose a job, you have a divorce, something tragic happens that shakes you to your core, that wakes you up to tapping into your true essence. Once you start doing that, even the most difficult relationships that show up on our path, and this is the beauty of it, can start to look like teachers. They can start to look like avenues of growth. And I feel like the people who trigger us the most that show up, right? You've got a boss who you hate, right? And you say you hate because this person makes your life miserable, right? But to ask the question to yourself and say, why do I feel this way about this person? What does this person make me feel like? Have I seen this situation play out in my life, whether it's in my family life or in previous jobs or in relationships? Have I seen a pattern here? And you start to really dig into even the most difficult relationships being gifts in your life is when you start to tap into this exponentiality and you start to magnetize. It's almost like you start to magnetize people into your world that are more resonant with you and can create more harmony in your life. And you start to repel people who don't resonate with that higher vibration that you're now emanating, because we all have the birthright to live truly wholesome, fulfilled lives. And I think people are so caught up, as you mentioned, in this rat race that they feel like some people are just more privileged than others. Yes, it's true that some of us have had harder situations than others, but there's always a next best step that any of us can take, despite the situation we may be in. So the point we want to make through the book is that regardless of where you are at in your life, wherever in the journey you may be, you may have had a really difficult situation and you're coming out of it. You may be at your peak and you don't know what to do with all this fame or excitement in your career. That's overwhelming as well. We've seen celebrities, right, suddenly plummet because they can't handle all the good things happening. And then you've seen people struggle. They don't have food on the table. They're trying to make ends meet. Both scenarios, right? One looks super great on the outside, but they're crumbling on the inside. The other hasn't met their basic needs and they're trying to figure things out just from a lifestyle perspective. They don't have a moment to even tap into
mhm.
what it is to live in purpose. And I suppose the journey really brings us back to a deeper sense of self-awareness so that we can attract the people in our life that then we can call our soul tribe. We can call them the people that we want to create things with, whether it's businesses, whether it's art projects, whether it's a family, right? Who are these people? And I think the minute we start to really say, hey, I'm being true to me. I'm not doing this for reasons that aren't aligned with my soul's purpose. That's when we start to magnetize the true connections that last in our lives.
Mm. And I feel so some people have a knack for bringing the best in yourself, and that's the people you were looking for usually. They feed you, they make you feel like you can be a better person, and you can learn from them. And there are the people who don't bring the best of yourself. And anybody who's raised teenagers will understand what I'm talking about. Sometimes it's just like you find yourself like not being exactly who you want to be. And it's nothing about the persons themselves, who they are. We love our kids, of course, but there is something going on, a dynamic that brings something about us. I like what you said, like, you know, when we look even at the worst possible coworker or boss or whatever, to look at it, and if I understand it, we look at it like a mirror, like, you know, it's not about them, it's about us. It's about our reaction and what can we learn from them, so they become a teacher for us. But where I like to go now is like, what do you need to open up in yourself to meet your sangha, to meet your community, to meet the people you want to be with?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? And a lot of us has done that online for literally months and years now. And, you know, there's a lot to be said about authenticity. We talk a lot about this at EXI, and showing up as yourself, being yourself. And you hear this a lot. You just mentioned about kids and all that. And look, we're all trying to hide things. We're all trying to not disclose and not reveal and show our best side and be positive, you know, more so than, let's say, negative or complaining and all that. And look, it takes, you know, what Anne was talking about earlier about your soul tribe, your closest inner circle, or the connection, the VIPs, to really be able to say, look, guys, this is what's going on. Like, I know most of the time it sounds like everything's great, but you know what? It's actually not, right? And here's what's going on. And I'm going to open up to you, and I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable, and I'm going to share. I'm going to take the risk, right? Because maybe I do that for you. And now I'm going to be the one that's going to be opening up to you. And, you know, is there that trust there between those two people so that you can kind of help one another, right? Become the best version of yourself, like we talk about. And you know, that expression about how you are the 5 or 10 or so people you spend the most time with.
Mm.
You talked about friends and kids. We rub off on one another all the time. That 95% statistic, where do you think that comes from, right? So it's definitely possible. You definitely have to pay attention to, you know, who's in your inner circle, who do you interface with, and you can make changes, right? Sometimes you have to in life.
I like that. Yeah, there's something going on, regulation from the environment, and we want to change inside, but we also may need to change some of the things on the outside to really create that dynamic. There was one of the chapters started with Thich Nhat Hanh, like, if you live without awareness, is the same as being dead. And I wanted to switch the topic to self-awareness, because the way you're looking at it is a little bit different. I'm familiar with self-awareness from the point of view of emotional intelligence. And most people look at it like as being aware of your emotions, period. And it's so much more than that. And you understand that. And I want to hear about you, about your version of self-awareness.
A lot of what we touch on in the book is alignment to purpose or purposes. And, you know, being aligned to purpose can be really daunting. That word, you know, some people ask that question, they just don't get the answer. And they wonder, you know, do I even have a purpose, right? And this isn't to say that every single person has one purpose. I mean, your purpose can shift and morph over your life. Today, your purpose may be to be the best dad to your kids. And that is like, that's going to make you the most fulfilled person right now. In 2 years, it may be to start an NGO to serve community, right? And it can shift and morph. And I think remembering that purpose actually comes from this aspect within sitting in our heart. We talk about heart set in the book because we realize, especially in businesses and, you know, leadership programs, there's a lot about resilience, mindset, right? Emotional intelligence, and that these are all things that, yes, we need to focus on, right? Like how are we thinking about things when a situation shows up so that we can deal with it in a good way? Now, imagine putting that same energy towards things that are of deep meaning to you. And when those things are of deep meaning to you, can you imagine how much more will come from it because you are so much more passionate about it, right? So this level of self-awareness, I mean, not being self-aware means you're dead. We truly live by that at EXI. I mean, the concept of purpose or purposes or intentions even, right? Intentions in the spiritual community, and now even in this whole mindset community, mindfulness, like set an intention for your day and move towards that intention so that you can actually create the results you want in your day, is the same as having a great mindset. But if it's not coming from heart-centered awareness, then is that energy really going in the direction of you living your most fulfilled life? Or is it going in the direction of expectations of others and a name that you have created and you want to hold up for yourself? Is it truly you? Is everything you're doing truly you? And I think some of the work from Heart Math Institute is something that we really go back to quite often. In fact, at our exponential individual virtual launch party yesterday, we had Roland McCready come on, who is the head of research at Heart Math, and he gave a little talk about how, we influence the field. We influence everything around us by what we emanate from our heart. And so if we're not feeling harmony within ourselves, we could be doing so much and accomplishing so much. But if we're not feeling the sense of harmony, we're actually doing disservice, not only to the collective, as in the human race, but planets, plants, other species. It's a ripple effect. And this is why we're so passionate about, well, are you sitting in your heart? Are you asking yourself if the things that you're currently spending your energy towards in your life truly meaningful to you? And if you can answer that question, whether it's a yes or a no, you're starting to get a deeper sense of self-awareness. And we typically have people break it down into your work life, your love life, and your energy level. So think about, do you feel energized every day? Do you feel like your work is meaningful? And do you feel you have a sense of love and belonging in your life? Those are the three, fundamental areas for any human to really feel like they're thriving rather than surviving. So if you look at those three components and you can start to gauge how you feel from a heart-set perspective in those three arenas, you can start to then take steps, baby steps, doesn't need to be big, right? To then improve in different areas of your life, because we're all work in progress at the end of the day.
I love this, and I feel so often we use again the left part of the brain. We think about the things we should be, we want to be, and we're trying to use that part of us that has helped us so much to go in the direction we want to go. But my feeling is that it's too weak to take us there. And unless, like you said, you connect with the heart, which has the strength and the force to pull you in the direction you really want to go, you won't be able to go very far. And so how do you engage with your heart? How do you become aware of that part of yourself, of that? Is it another brain? I don't know. But how do you really get in touch with it? So you're not fooling yourself.
Oh, that's a beautiful question. I'll be brief and then I'll let Eric touch on it a little bit. You said, is it another brain? And we say, yes, it is. Actually, Greg Braden talks about this. The Heart Math Institute's done research, right? There's 40,000 neurons that live in your heart, and it serves as a brain. And it is actually, the heart sends 10 times more signals to the brain than the brain does the heart. And that's mind blowing, right? And so you say, how can you become more aware? So right now we have two ears, but we're not thinking about them. So we really don't know if they're there. But if we spend a couple of seconds thinking about our right ear, we will start to feel its presence, right? It's just like our hands. I'm using my hands when I talk. I'm not thinking about my hands, but now that I think about my hands, I know they're there. It's the same with the heart. The heart's constantly keeping us alive it is the most powerful force in our body. Without it, we'd be dead. And yet we don't give it any attention or awareness. Now, the minute you take your awareness from your mind, which we can feel the pressure in our mind, right now, even like as we're talking, you're thinking about, what you want to unpack in the book. Eric's thinking about how he could support the conversation I'm putting forth to the audience, right? Our mind is active, it's in beta brainwave state. You take that awareness and drop it right into your heart. And just for a second, feel it beat. It's beautiful. It's just beautiful. And I think that's just it, right? The more you can sit in stillness and start to acknowledge your heart, you'll start to feel the shift. And there's a little practice called the heart lock technique. Just recommend going to Heart Math and doing a little YouTube search on it. It's a great practice to start to get your heart activated, so you can start to tap more into a sense of alignment and discovery of purpose. Because when we only use our brain to discover purpose, I think we're missing the point. There's so much more. And so use the heart to amplify the brain, and then use our hands and legs to act in the world.
Wonderful. And as you were talking, I was trying my best to experiment it, to connect with my own heart. And it's interesting how it changed everything right now. Like instead of focusing, okay, this is a webinar, we're doing this, I have to make sure I ask the right questions. And I think it's kind of self-centered, right? Like, am I doing well? Is this going well? Then suddenly it becomes, wow, no, there's all this world around them, and I'm talking with a real person. And then I have a sense of who that person is. And things start resonating in a different way, like a different energy, different vibrations. And it feels more complete, like a better understanding of who I'm talking to than if I am self-centered, thinking about a goal that I want to achieve. So it's shifting from the left to the heart. So that's something we all can do. And like you said, it's simply bringing the attention there and see what happens. It will open up, and then suddenly it's different. Eric, you wanted to say something too.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, that was just a great explanation that Anne gave us. And, being an engineer historically, right, with my career, very left brain, very numbers and math, and, being objective. And what about the right brain stuff, right? The right side of the mind, the subconscious, all the stuff that kind of happens on its own, the magic. And you talked about it earlier too, about the frequencies and the vibrations, and that's actually what happens, right? Thoughts are things. And so if you're feeling grateful, if you're feeling good, if you're feeling love, you are broadcasting that. And guess what comes right back to you? More of it, right? And so if you can, at times when needed, get out of your head or your mind or your left brain and come from your heart. Easier said than done. Think about somebody you love and how you talk to them and how it's different in your thoughts and your emotions and your feelings, and what are you willing to do for them. That's the place. If you can come from there, you're vibrating it, right? You're giving it off. You're getting more coming back to you. It fills you up. You keep going. And it's this wonderful cycle that just keeps repeating itself.
We kind of like, this is such a wonderful conversation, and we could go on for a lot longer than we have allotted for ourselves today. And this is wonderful. I'm so grateful to have been able to talk with you on this topic. And again, I would encourage everybody to get the book and take a look at it. It's absolutely wonderful. Lots of gems in there, lots of little nuggets. And we're going to go to Q&A in just a minute. But before we do that, Uli, you have an announcement you wanted to make.
Yes, thank you, Tony, and thank you, Eric, and for your topics. It's really wonderful. I have to take a minute to get back into my left brain here. So We have at Beyond EI, we have a program coming up starting on May 1st called EI Coaching Theory and Practice. And I just wanted to talk about it for a minute. It's focused on really the topic on like how to coach for emotional intelligence. And it's also focused on the core competencies of the International Coaching Federation. So it's ideal for anybody who's interested in, coaching, becoming a coach, or who needs to earn ICF credits. So I'll put the link to that in the chat here in a second. It starts on Monday. It would be wonderful if you could join us there. And then with that being said, we actually do have a question here for Eric and Anne. And it's, what questions do you ask others that you come across to find out if there is potential to co-create with them?
That's a great question. That's the question we asked ourselves at EXI, and right, what, 2 years ago? We are full of conscious co-creators from people from around the world, just like yourselves, and we're constantly looking for new ones. And wow, we could do a whole show on that for sure. But let me tell you where we start with. And we talked about this earlier on the call too, and that is the principles and the values. And we have them at EXI, and we not only have written them down and believe them, but we actually live them. And we do make sure that anybody that's part of our core team also subscribes to those same values as well.
So that would be one thing, is to find alignment on principles and values, and then purpose. So we talk about purpose because that is really the glue that binds us. When there are stormy waters, what keeps us together is this vision that we have for all the work we're doing. And at EXI, it is making self-awareness, human optimization, and collective betterment universal. Now, if you are interested in that, we welcome you. Come co-create with us, come partner with us, become a core team member with us, lead with us, right? Join the community if you want to be more passive. So there are different roles people can play. And I think if you're forming a community, it's important to define these different roles, have your values and principles, create a purpose statement that really resonates with what the bigger picture is that you're trying to achieve. And this is not going to be in our lifetime, right? We always joke about this, like this is a generation to generation thing that we're creating at EXI. We don't want this to be Anne, Eric, or Julie, Mac. Like these are all the different leaders behind EXI. This is going to live on, and we want people to co-create and constantly evolve the project as it goes. So I think the glue that keeps it all together is having purpose, having people aligned to purpose, and having values and principles that individuals live by.
I love it. Do we have any other questions or comments, Uli?
Yeah, there is actually a comment from Susanna. She's just writing, if you are in touch with your heart to integrate cognitive life direction, it is a preoccupation and a tad painful not to be able on that path right now. And ignorance would have been easier. I just distract myself with future peripheral related information.
No, I think that's a great point. I think it's a great point because there was something that we said, which is, if you feel love, you can, you're doing the right thing. It's sitting in the heart isn't always unicorns and rainbows. And I think it's important to note that it also comes with the grieving and releasing of pain from past trauma, situations that you haven't addressed, things that you've pushed under the rug, right? And so when you choose to sit in your heart, you're going to get everything come at you. And some of that stuff is painful.
That's very interesting, actually, because many times when we talk about all these methods of getting better and so on, people look at happiness, and often it's an escape. And actually, it actually takes people on the path to be less aware, to escape from suffering. to escape from who they really are. And they end up not living their best life, the best version of themselves. Here we're saying, if I hear you well, that we are not afraid to be aware of what's going on, whatever that is. And we're not running away from suffering. Your proposal is to be aware of it, to be fully aware of it. And then when you're in that space, then something can happen. So this is kind of the payment, I guess, to be the best version of yourself. Like, be willing to live life with everything that comes with it. Is that?
Yeah. Feel the feelings, live fully.
Yeah.
We came for the whole human experience. We would get bored if it was always constant. The human race would not be able to experience life as fully as they potentially can.
Yeah, look, I mean, we all know that there's plenty happening in life, ups and downs, good times and bad times, sickness and health, right? And I think if you can go through, like we all have, and we all will, challenging, difficult, maybe at times impossible times, and you can make it through that, help others along the way, keep yourself intact, have the outcome of the result be, ideally what you want, makes you more anti-fragile, right? It just makes you stronger, right? What doesn't kill us make us stronger, that kind of thing. And look, there are lots of hardships in this world, and this is where I think some of the principles we talk about at EXI, in terms of just being courageous and being honest and being open and being vulnerable and being authentic, comes into play here, right? Because the good times will be great, and again, if you can get through some of those rough patches, which we all have and will do, just think about how better the good times will be.
I love it. This has been a absolutely wonderful conversation, and it deserved like so much more than the allotted time that we had, like half an hour, 45 minutes. I feel like this could be a whole weekend talking about all these different ideas and hearing your take on it, because you have such wonderful ideas. And again, for everyone listening, like, get that book and take a look at it. It's really easy to read, and it has a lot of gems in it. So I'm going to check again if we have any burning questions or comments or anything coming up from the chat. And if not, then we're going to close it now.
I think it's a wonderful closing sentence. And yeah.
Okay. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being a great host, Tony, and Ulrich, for all your support. You've been amazing. Loved your questions.
Thanks to you both. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Eric. Thanks, Uli. And bye, everyone. And come back again next month. We will have another BEI Live, and hopefully we'll see you again. Have a wonderful day.